All right, everybody. Not the result the Boston Celtics were looking for tonight in the Mile High City. They fall to the Denver Nuggets 115 to 109. But there's plenty of meat on this bone, baby. I think we got ourselves a stew. We're going to get into it tonight. Myself, Greg Manakis, we're here. It's Green with Envy. Let's lock in. What up, what up, what up? Welcome into another edition of Green with Envy, a post-game recap. The Boston Celtics fall to the Denver Nuggets 115 to 109 in a clash of a potential NBA Finals preview. We'll talk more about that. Of course, this is your boy Will. We are checking in. How you doing? How you living? Joining me tonight, and it's it's right around just before midnight out here in the Central Time Zone. Could get a little loopy tonight. Joining me tonight, my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, the one and only Greg Manakis.
Yeah, we were texting back and forth, seemingly some different viewpoints on the game. So I just suggested to Will, I was like, hey, let's just do it, man. Let's just get this over with. We were going to record a pod in the morning. And we, like, after games like this, you can't really sleep. You might as well stay up. You might as well talk about it. Thank you for everyone that's joining the live stream.
This is the beauty of us.
Drop your thoughts in the chat.
This is the beauty of us having a podcast, is that we can hop on here and actually talk it out, record it, and then send it out to the world. Whereas many other fans may just be sitting there either maybe having someone to text with, maybe not, because it's really late on the East Coast right now. Like, it's after midnight. So maybe you're just sitting there trying to get some sleep, rolling over back and forth, trying to figure out which side of the pillow you want to use. But maybe it just doesn't matter because you're just thinking about this game. That's what we would have been doing. So fuck it. Let's do it live. We're going to hop on here and we're going to talk about this game. Nuggets win 115 to 109. I think there's a lot of different angles to talk about from this game, but I think tomorrow morning when we wake up or whenever you're listening to this, the most prevalent theme that I assume is probably going to be talked about, and the number one person that's going to be talked about from this game, at least from a Celtics perspective, is going to be Jayson Tatum and the lack thereof performance from Jayson Tatum tonight. So I think for us, Greg, I don't know if you would disagree. I think that's probably the number one storyline to start with tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably prefer to start with Jaylen and how great he played, but let's talk about Tatum because that's what they would do on First Take. That's what they would do.
I mean, listen, Jaylen played awesome, but I think the bigger story is the way that Jayson Tatum didn't play awesome tonight. Personally, that's what I think the bigger story is within the bigger picture of what the
Celtics. Sure. Yeah, let's talk about Tatum. So, well, first of all, he's getting double teamed the entire game. He's trying to make the right play. And I think the issue with Tatum tonight is when he was making the right play, it was indecisive and it was lazy. The passes didn't have a lot of zip on him. I mean, he had 5 turnovers?
So his stat line game real quick, 15 points, 5 of 13 from the field, 5 turnovers. Did have 8 assists to your point, but then also the same amount of turnovers as field goals made, never going to be a good recipe.
Yeah, and there were just little moments in the game, like 2-on-1 in a big moment. Jamal Murray's back on defense, and he tries to thread the needle with like a bullet worm burner pass at Drew Holiday's ankles that Drew understandably fumbled because it was not a good pass to throw. Like those types of decisions from Tatum tonight, it felt like he wasn't seeing the game with the usual speed, how everything kind of slows down for him. The game felt fast for him tonight. And he didn't play well, man. He didn't play well.
Yeah, I mean, he had a chance to redeem himself at the end of the game. Celtics make that run, and he's got that wide open 3 in the corner, and I'm sure everyone's gonna be pulling up those clutch field goal stats. It's not gonna help him. So it was just a tough night for Tatum, and like you said, I think part of Tatum was him trying to once again, we've talked all season and we've praised him for it. The sacrifice, right? Be the sacrifice guy, make the right pass. But there just wasn't, I don't know. There just wasn't a lot of Tatum impact in this game in a
Yeah.
positive way. Like it's hard to find. And you talk about the passes. One of them that stood out to me was he tried to make this like weird forceful bounce pass to Kristaps. I think he was trying to bounce it into the ground so it would bounce up to his chest. And I just it was the decision making from Tatum was suspect. And then in the opportunities that he had, which were limited, because like you said, they were sending double teams at him. I just don't think he was aggressive enough in the moments that he could have been, which I think he was just at that point then just waiting for that double team and more thinking about what's the smart play versus let me go be the second best player in this game like I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, and the Nuggets did a really good job sending bodies to him. Even that one play stands out to me when Tatum, he drove hard right. I think it was by Zeke Naji, and then Brown stepped up right above the circle, and I think he ended up getting blocked out of bounds by Peyton Watson.
Yeah,
But
the guy had a good game.
Yeah, Peyton Watson was great tonight. But in that moment, Tatum's trying to get to the rim, but I think he has to anticipate where the defense is coming from, and that's where that float game comes into play. That we see out of Tatum from time to time, but he doesn't rely on that float game. It's not something that he's thinking about. It's more like something he has to premeditate almost. It's not something that he can just react and do at this point, because he doesn't do it that frequently, to be honest with you. And I felt like he was trying to get downhill. He was forcing it, trying to get to the basket, but he just kept seeing bodies. And when Tatum's frustrated, it just shows in his body language, man. I think that's one of the biggest issues with Tatum, and I think that's why it's easy as a national analyst who tunes into games here and there with the Celtics. When you watch Tatum, sometimes you're just like, man, I just wish your body language was a little bit more engaged, which is why some people lean a little bit more Jaylen Brown when they tune in from time to time, because Jaylen never really has bad body language. Even when he misses 7 fucking free throws, he's still, body language still keeps attacking the rim. So yeah, Tatum didn't have a good night, man. But I don't want to belabor it. I think he's going to be okay. It is, the narrative that you mentioned before in our pregame. If he has a stinker like he did tonight, there's going to be more fuel to the Jayson Tatum is not a big game player. And I don't believe that narrative. I think he's going to step up when it matters. Tonight was one example. In a 7-game series in the finals, right? Tatum would then be able to make adjustments from game to game. So the Nuggets had his number tonight.
Yeah, and we've seen the proof of Tatum being the opposite of that narrative. That's kind of my issue, is that the other side of that doesn't get brought up enough tonight. But this is, from the standpoint of just looking at it as Celtics Nuggets, this is 2 games. I mean, we highlighted this a lot in our pregame show. Like the Jays were really rough in that first game. Tonight, Jaylen showed up, Tatum didn't. And it's just tough when you have these are the 2 teams that everyone's looking at in the league. And Tatum, as far as performances, he's over 2, and he's not going to have a chance to redeem it unless these teams, meet up in the finals again. But let's go to Jaylen Brown, because he did have an awesome night. But you mentioned the free throws, and I saw this right before we came on from Dick Lipe. And this was after he missed his 6th free throw. So he tweeted this before he even missed his next free throw. But Jaylen Brown is the first Celtic to miss 6 free throws in a game since Abdel Nader, March 18th, 2018 versus Pelicans. So shout out to Abdel Nader. Didn't think he'd make the post game, but he did. But Jaylen Brown tonight, I thought this was one of the most fascinating Jaylen Brown games I think I've ever watched. I was so locked in on everything that was happening with Jaylen, his aggression, his, him playing with so much downhill force. He had 13 rebounds in this game, 6 offensive rebounds. And then you throw in the missed free throws. He had a couple of the kind of classic couple of mistakes that the few ones that he did make were very kind of like big and obvious ones. He misses a dunk. He has one turnover where he just, I don't know what he was doing. Just made a super lazy pass out of bounds. Another one where it was early in the first half. This is right when I tweeted you my theory I'm not ready to bring up here yet, where he throws a pass into 2 Nuggets. And they showed it from the reverse angle. I have no idea what he could have been looking at. But he has 41 points tonight, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, nearly had the same Steph Curry play where he caused a backcourt violation, really 2 backcourt violations. He nearly did the same thing to Jamal Murray on 2 different possessions.
Well, he forced that turnover that Tatum missed.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I'm saying. He almost did it on one possession, then that possession he did force the turnover. And 16 of 29, without Jaylen Brown, the Celtics are a sunk ship tonight without a chance. And I was thinking back on the history of Jaylen Brown. I'm like, man, this was kind of the Jaylen we were hoping to get after Tatum rolled his ankle in Game 7 against Miami, right? Which is this type of, what else are we gonna do? Fuck it, I'm gonna do something, right?
Right.
This is the Jaylen Brown, and well, he had it tonight, so maybe this is kind of the silver lining. Jaylen Brown on a night when Jayson Tatum doesn't have it still gives you a chance to win with just a monster night.
Yeah, and this is the thing with Jaylen. He's always like the mentality and the mental fortitude that he has to continue to fight through struggles, like he was at the free throw line, like I alluded to earlier. It's like it's so strange because you can see him on his shot. You can see him thinking about it. You can see him being way too mechanical with it. He's not just letting that thing go from the free throw line, and it almost like he's got the almost got the yips at the line to some degree. Like,
Dude,
he's just not trusting his fall.
Even one of the last ones he made, it hit the rim 3 times. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
this
and
is a roller coaster.
normally when Jaylen misses, he misses short, and he did miss short on a few of them tonight, but he was also missing long, he was missing right, he was missing left. Like, it just was not pretty at the line from Jaylen. You think back to it's unfortunate because he was so good tonight. We're talking about the struggles at the free throw line, but they were real. That one game where he was like 13 for 13 or something like that, or 13 for 14 at the line, where him and Tatum were like 26 or 27. And I thought that was going to be the moment that JB just figured it out at the line. And they had that stat tonight that over the last 18 games, he's shooting like 68% from the line. And it feels worse than that. But he was great, though. Jaylen was the reason we were in the game. His defense, especially when Jokic just started getting every rebound in the second half, Jaylen was the guy that was flying in off of the perimeter to knock the ball away from him. He was the guy that was trying to match Jokic's physicality. He was getting frustrated with how much Jokic was kind of bullying everybody on the court, and he was the one guy that was really standing up to him. So Jaylen was awesome, man. He was 2 for 5 from 3. He shot the last 2 threes, and that were kind of here. He kind of just had to take the last 2 threes. So he ended up 2 for 7. It's more like a 2 for 5 night from him. The 13 rebounds were great. The 3 steals were great. 4 assists. I thought he did a good job letting the game come to him early. And then he looked around and was like, where the fuck is my team? So I'm just going to go, and that's what when people talk about, trading Jaylen Brown, when they ever go to that, like, these are the games where I'm like, yeah, but there are those games where Tatum just like doesn't really show up, or there's something's going on where he doesn't really have it. Derek White is one of those guys that he can step up, and he probably should have been given more of an opportunity to step up. But Jaylen's the guy that can just like go supernova like he did tonight. And I was really happy to see Jaylen play well, because he hasn't played well in a national TV game in a while.
Right, and like you said, it's so unfortunate, but like it's so unfortunate to have to talk about the free throws in a game like this, but when you lose by 6 and you miss 7 free throws, I'm not great at math.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it has to be brought up.
Porzingis, I mean, what Porzingis missed one in the 4th, Tatum missed one in the 4th. So
I mean, there's a lot to go. I mean, Porzingis was another guy. Let's we can talk about, because I think we're gonna be talking about everybody here in different ways. Porzingis is another guy I thought had a pretty interesting game, where he obviously had stretches where he was knocking down threes and he was, kind of doing the Porzingis thing of taking advantage of mismatches, but also wasn't as consistently successful in taking advantage of those mismatches. Tonight was a little inconsistent. He goes 9 of 23 from the field, 3 of 10 from 3. He had 24 points, 12 rebounds. For him, he also had 3 turnovers. Much like Tatum, he had a very weird night. Porzingis, I don't know, how do you look at Porzingis this night tonight? It was very up and down for me.
Yeah, I mean, my main issue with KP is that he foul hunts a little too much when he has those mismatches, and he doesn't just like try and score. He tries to score through contact and get the N1. We're kind of baiting people into on that swing through move
into the body.
Yeah, when he comes up underneath, Tatum does it, Embiid does it, everybody does it. But if they're not giving you that call, you got to like kind of just abandon that strategy of trying to get, be a foul merchant. So that's my biggest issue with KP. Otherwise, he did his best against Jokic. That's not the best matchup for him, but you got to try it out. You got to see what Porzingis can do if he can hold up in a big moment against Jokic. Not many people can, and Porzingis couldn't tonight. And that's why Jokic is the best player in the world. But I mean, he did so much on the offensive side of the ball. His ability just to draw the defense and open up lanes for guys like Tatum and Brown, most specifically Brown tonight. But yeah, man, I think he was a little bit lazy. Him and Tatum in the 2-man game, like a little bit lazy with Tatum's passing. And also you could put that on Porzingis not going and getting the ball, not being aggressive, going to get the ball. So there were a couple of moments with Porzingis where I felt like he didn't realize how physical he needed to be in the game, but I think he figured it out towards the end.
He did have that one moment when the Celtics were making a run. I think it was around 97, 91, where he got back into a play, made that block where he went full speed down court.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, Porzingis certainly had his moments. I know some of those turnovers. I would love to go back and watch those. Some of his turnovers were pretty bad as far as just lazy passes that he made. But yeah, I don't know. It was an interesting night, I thought, from Porzingis. But this brings me to a point where you and I were texting about what led to us saying, "Screw it. Let's hop on here." There's no stopping Nikola Jokic. I'm the first to admit that. And my general rule with a lot of these top tier superstars is there's no stopping these guys. It's just how do you slow them down and how do you give yourself a chance? I don't really have too many issues with Joe Mazzulla. There's two big Joe Mazzulla things that kind of stood out to me in this game. I'll touch on this first one here. And you talked about KP with Jokic. Jokic, who was bullying everyone, to be fair, was putting KP underneath the basket every single time. And, something that I'm constantly amazed by with Nikola Jokic, the man he and I may have the same verticality, and yet the fact that he doesn't jump almost gives him an advantage as far as like that second tip, or when he tips the ball to himself or tips it back up off the rim, because he gets back up there so quickly.
Well,
and
his
up
arms
there
just
is
stay up the whole time.
It's unbelievable when you watch him. Everyone else is trying to like reload, jump back up. He's just on his tippy toes, hands up, and he's just getting his hands on everything. It's absolutely unbelievable. But for me, and I agree with you to a point, you got to find out what your team has, what's going to work, what's not going to work. To me, it became very clear at a certain point. All right, KP guarding Jokic does not work. We need to do something else. At one point, you even saw Drew Holiday push him to the side and said, "Let me try." And like Drew Holiday jumped in against Jokic, and I don't think that was really going to do much. But I don't think Al Horford's stopping Nikola Jokic. I think Al Horford's not going to get pushed, and I think we saw at different points of the game he didn't get pushed under the basket the same way that Kristaps did, and it's at least a more contested fadeaway or hook shot that Nikola Jokic was taking versus Al Horford. And in a game like tonight, you mentioned Derek White and Drew Holiday. We can kind of talk about it. I think for me, if I'm looking at this as a finals matchup, you could kind of pick and choose which of them. But I think in this type of game, Al Horford needs to be on the court instead of White or Holiday tonight. I think it should have been over Derek White, just because Derek White wasn't really being used. Like Derek White didn't have that much of an impact, especially in the second half on this game. So if you bring in Al Horford, you can put KP on Michael Porter Jr., on KCP. You have other ways to do that. And then you have Jaylen Brown, crashing. I thought that was a big mistake by Mazzulla, not initially, but at some point not to bring in Al Horford to guard Nikola Jokic. That was a big mistake for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could go like offense, defense for a couple of possessions, but Horford wasn't doing anything on offense. He wasn't providing any sort of spacing or any.
What was Derek White doing on offense tonight? He barely touched the ball. I mean, they would have been doing the same thing.
Yeah, but he's a
better
threat.
chance on defense.
He's a threat from three. So I think with Horford, anytime there's a different level player. Come on, man, you know that.
I know a different level of player, but just saying if they're standing out there to shoot a three, Horford can do that.
Yeah, but like Derek White's still drawing gravity from the defense. It's we don't need to rehash the Horford doesn't have gravity from three, right? So I think anytime there's a dead ball situation, sure, bring in Al Horford, but we were getting good offense. It's not like we weren't able to get high quality looks on the offensive side of the ball. So like you have to see what you have with your best five to see if what you do well can outmaneuver what they do well, right? And you have to figure out ways with your best five to sink or swim in those moments. And tonight on defense, we sunk, but we weren't necessarily just saying KP guard Jokic one-on-one for the whole fourth quarter. We were trying different stuff. We had, we put Holiday on him. We were trying to negate the 2-man game, which was absolutely killing us earlier in the game. Like there was nothing we could do against the 2-man game. So we tried Holiday on that to negate it. And then we started sending doubles from different places. If Horford's in the game, you're still going to send doubles. You're not going to leave him on an island, right? So to me, it's just, what can we do on the offensive side of the ball to take advantage of it? And Drew Holiday was very much taking advantage of Jokic. If Al Horford's in the game, then maybe Jokic is covering Horford, and then
That's a fair
Holiday's,
point.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
there's other things to consider. That I get your point. Like, yeah, sure, let's try Horford on Jokic. In my opinion, I just don't think that was going to work either. Like, Jokic was just doing whatever the fuck he wanted to do, and you had to see, okay, Jokic is going to get his, but we're going to have to get it back on the other side of the ball, and we're going to have to do it with 3-point shots down the stretch because we were down by 9 points. So you need to have your best 3-point shooters on the court. And we saw Holiday hit a couple big threes on Jokic, took him to the basket one time. So that's the only other thing to consider. But I hear your point.
Yeah, I agree with what your last point is, that maybe he's not on. No, Jokic on the offensive end isn't guarding Drew Holiday, which I think they probably honestly got Drew involved too late. Like in the third quarter, I honestly forgot Drew Holiday was playing offense. Like I can't remember him touching the ball or being involved. Like that's another issue I think unto itself, that Drew Holiday has to play a bigger role if they're going to leave somebody like Jokic on there. You have to make Jokic work. You have to make him pay for for that decision. My final point and biggest point with Al Horford is just that double team's still coming. It's coming 3 to 5 feet further out than where he was putting KP, and it's giving your defense a better chance to recover because Jokic is the counter of all counters. He's going to still do what he does. I just thought eventually, after you had enough evidence, like, okay, this is not going to work. Let's try something else.
Yeah, but and at the same time, though, Will, we were down pretty big in the fourth quarter, and we got it to the point with that 5 where we had a chance to have the lead with a wide open Jayson Tatum 3-pointer with 30 seconds left in the game. You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily know that Horford brings us back any more than we came back, you know?
Yeah, I mean, also the other part that I looked at it is, with that double team coming, because it's also coming so close to the rim, more room for Aaron Gordon to sneak in and get those alley oops and get those offensive putbacks. You're then giving yourself another bigger body to be out there crashing the board. I don't know. I think it was at a certain point, it was something that should have been tried, but I said there was one other
Yeah.
minor qualm I had with Joe Mazzulla, and we talk all the time. You got to win the non-Jokic minutes, right? They lost them in the first half, -2. They did end up winning them in the second half. Late surge ended up being +4, but to start the fourth quarter, when you knew you were going to get some non-Jokic minutes, wasn't really sure about the Tatum, Holiday, Pritchard, Tillman, and Horford lineup. That's what you're going to go with. And I believe they were down, I think it was 90-80 at that point to start the fourth quarter. So you're down 10, and I get it. This is also the good part about this lineup is, hey, Tatum, don't pass the ball. Like this is like you need to go be the guy. So I think that's a little bit a part of it. But if you're going to try and make your run without Jokic, I mean, I know he let some guy. I know he let JB and KP really go in that third quarter. So there was, some guys that just needed some rest. But if that's, I don't know, it feels like that's not necessarily the time to have the Tillman Horford lineup out there when there's no Jokic out there. Like that just doesn't
Yeah.
seem to make a lot of sense to me.
No, I would agree with that. And that's why we've been clamoring for a little bit of O'Shea Brissett in big games like this just to see what he can bring, and like I would have liked to have seen him on the court. Maybe not in that moment, but
Right.
I just want to see a little bit more out of him just because I like the energy that he brings. Like he has that Peyton Watson type of like energy impact, right? Peyton Watson was really impressive tonight. Hitting those threes and whatnot. But Pritchard, this is why I was clamoring for the Caruso trade, man.
Dude,
Like
I thought of you tonight. Tonight was a night where and Pritchard got left out there way too long in the fourth quarter. I
yeah,
texted you
that
at
was
one point. I
strange.
was like, "What?" Like after they came back from that, I think the
Played
8-minute timeout,
5.5
and
minutes in the fourth.
yeah, I mean, they came back from that timeout at 8:04. They subbed Jokic back in. Why the hell Peyton Pritchard was still out there after that timeout is beyond me. I
Yeah.
have no idea what the point of that was, but as he was out there in that fourth, you were in my head saying this is the Caruso moment.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I was saying for anyone that isn't familiar with my thought process when we were at the trade deadline. I said Peyton Pritchard's not going to play in a game 7 on the road. Peyton Pritchard's probably not going to play in a game 7. And if he does play, he's not going to have an impact on the game. And that's why I was thinking we needed to trade for one more real guy like an Alex Caruso, because for a fact, 100% Alex Caruso would have been in this game and would have been making an impact, right? Maybe the Bulls didn't want to trade him. Maybe it was way too much. But my point was, I didn't think that Peyton Pritchard would be able to play in a huge game, especially against a physically huge team like the Denver Nuggets are. So
yeah, it's a bad matchup for him.
Bad matchup for him. I thought Sam played well though. Sam held up.
Sam played great. I mean,
Aaron Gordon once
I'm
at the
just
rim
looking
with
at the
2 threes.
minutes distribution. The weirdest part about the Peyton Pritchard is that he played 10.5 minutes total, and 5.5 of them were in the fourth quarter. Like, I just don't understand that breakdown from Joe. That's the part that's the most, not that Peyton got out there, but just those are the half of his minutes were the first 5-6 minutes of
and
the
it's not like
quarter.
he was like, I get he's a great shooter, whatever. And we weren't empowering him to do anything off the bounce either. It's not like we were
This wasn't
moving
the Warriors game.
Yeah, we weren't moving the ball to the point where Pritchard would be able to attack gaps. He wasn't gnashing like he does in transition. He was kind of just standing around. So if we're gonna do that, let's put a guy with more size who can get a shot off like Sam Hauser. Like why?
Yeah, Sam was good tonight.
Why Pritchard over Hauser?
Like Sam knocked down 2 threes tonight. I think Aaron Gordon tried to bully him in the post at one point, and Sam held up. Exactly.
Yeah.
Sam held up really well in that. So yeah, I mean, it was, from a Joe Mazzulla perspective, he clearly treated this game very differently. His substitution patterns.
Tatum played the whole first.
Played the whole first, matched Jokic minute for minute. Came in with Al first. We saw Tillman just like we expected. This wasn't a loot game. This was a Xavier Tillman game. I thought Tillman played 13 minutes. I thought Tillman played pretty well in the minutes that he was in there. He ended up being a -12. I think that was more, I just talked about the lineups he was out there with. Like, I thought overall Tillman was solid in his minutes out there. And to me, like I said, there's no stopping Nikola Jokic. But the guys who defended him the best, in my opinion, were Al and Tillman, just because they're a bit stronger. They're more broad. He's not going to be able to. He's going to bully them, but not to the same extent that he does everybody else. And you actually, you saw Joe go with a lot of double big lineups early in the game. Left it late, but early in the game, he was very much, after that first substitution for Al, was basically double big, I think, most of the first half, if I remember correctly.
Well, that's what that's what they always do. Like, aside from the starting lineup, it's Horford's either playing with Porzingis or with Cornette, and now it's Horford and Tillman.
Yeah.
So Joe really likes the double big lineups, specifically against this team. Like, man, they are so big. Like, Jokic is huge, Michael Porter Jr. is huge, Aaron Gordon is a physical freak, KCP's got some good length.
Some of those Aaron Gordon
like
dunks. Yeah, and dude, Jamal Murray plays tough. I love Jamal.
Yeah, Jamal Murray's great, man. So it's ridiculous. He hasn't been an all-star. Great hands on defense. I liked how we took him out of the game in the second half, though.
I was just about to say
that's
a
Jaylen
positive.
Brown.
Yeah, that's a positive in this game. Here is that end of the first quarter when he hits that absurd 3-pointer. Even Lorena was watching the game. She was like, "Oh my god!" Like, she was like, just looked up. Like, even she was like, "That doesn't happen a lot, right?" I was like, "No, that never happens. That was an insane shot."
Yeah, I mean,
like,
someone was all over it.
Yeah, that was crazy. So he has that run from the end of the first to the beginning of the second, and that was really the Jamal Murray part of the game, at least from like a scoring output. He ended up 7 of 18 from the field with 19 points. So I think the Celtics bounced back really nicely with him. Peyton Watson from their bench.
5 turnovers too.
Had 5 turnovers. It's really Peyton Watson from the bench. Christian Brown was solid too, but Peyton Watson from the bench, Jokic, and then a lot of those those Aaron Gordon dunks were insane. Insanity in the fourth quarter.
Special kind of athlete.
That's a freak type of athlete. He had 16 points.
Murray was 2 for 7 in the second half.
Yeah. So Celtics did a really good job with that late in the game. It was, the Peyton Watson minutes, and then just Jokic being Jokic and Gordon. Gordon has found such a great role on this team, man. Gordon's so perfect for what this team does. And Michael Porter Jr. didn't really do much tonight either. So he was held at bay. He was 9 points, 4 of 9, whatever. That's totally fine. Like, man, it's a tough game. So okay. Let's
what would you say Jokic was in the fourth quarter? What would you just guess
his stat line?
Yeah, I don't have all the stats, but just what would you say his stats were scoring wise?
I don't know. He probably had 8 points and 6 assists or something.
He was only 2 for 4 from the field in the fourth quarter.
Okay. Felt like more than that. He got to the
Right.
did he get to the free throw line a couple
I
times
don't I
too?
don't have that. I just have
Okay.
the shot chart.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, 4 shots, really? But yeah,
Yeah.
he's such a good passer, and he probably had a couple free throws there as well. But looking at the shot chart, he took 4 shots. One he hit
Yeah.
that fadeaway that he airballed as the shot clock was
Right.
winding down, and then a layup and a floater. That's it. And then he missed one at the rim too.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, he ended up 10 of 10 from the free throw line. So yeah, I mean, once again, the Nuggets shot 21 of 22 from the free throw line. It's a big difference in this game here. But yeah, Jokic is just amazing, man. I don't know what you do. It's so crazy that he is far and away the best player in this league. Like there's no one close. I don't think it's I think Giannis is probably, I would have to say, the second best player, and I don't think it's even close. I think it's Jokic by
And he's getting better at defense too. I thought the Celtics did a good job attacking him, but he's a really smart defender. He's got great hands. You can't throw a bounce pass anywhere near him because he's going to dig that thing out of the dirt.
Yeah.
So he's gotten a lot better on D. I thought the Celtics started to realize that they could attack him and get him in space and isolate him out of the slot and, empty sides. Drew Holiday at the end of the game, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
You just got to go at Jokic, man. And I felt like in the second half, they definitely targeted him a little bit more.
Yeah, the Holiday thing was great because I was getting ready to say, "Where's Drew?" Like I put it in my notes, like, "Where's Drew right now?" And then end of that fourth quarter, he was fantastic. Started getting involved more. Last thing, because I feel like we're both running out of gas here.
Oh yeah, I got nothing left.
Yeah. So last thing, just how does this shape your, like, if this were to end up being a finals? We've now seen Nuggets win in Boston, Nuggets win at home. We've seen this matchup twice. It's the last time we're going to see it until potentially an NBA Finals if both of these teams get there. How does this game leave you feeling about this matchup?
That I don't want to play the Nuggets in the finals. That's all I can give you right now, man. I think that they're a bad matchup for most teams in the league, and Jokic is the cheat code of all cheat codes.
Yeah, this is I've said it's the Celtics have to make it to the finals for this to be, that's step one for what the season has to be a success. The only routes for them losing the NBA Finals, definitively, if they lose to the Nuggets, listen, I'm gonna have, if I'm gonna have a hard time genuinely making a case that the Celtics are gonna beat the Nuggets if they get there, I'll try. But I think it's gonna be
in Jokic. If it's Celtics Nuggets and Jokic is just like by far the best player against this Celtics team, that's gonna put him in like all time levels because this Celtics team is that great. And if Jokic is just like, it doesn't matter how great we are with 5 awesome players, it's just like, yeah, but they had Jokic, so we couldn't do anything about it.
Right. That's kind of like what people
he might
say
be
about
that
Jordan.
good. He
That's
might
what
be
people
that
say
good.
about Jordan in the 90s, right? Like, yeah, our team was great, but they had Jordan. What you want us to do?
Yeah,
So
he might be that good.
It's it's tough. This is gonna be a tough matchup if it comes down to it, but Celtics got some work to do here when it comes to trying to figure out what to do with the Nuggets, just like everybody else in the league. So we'll see what happens. Celtics continue their road trip here Saturday night in Phoenix against a Devin Booker-less Suns. So hopefully that's a game for them to get back into the win column. 2 losses in a row here on the road to start the road trip. Well, that's going to do it for this edition here of Green with MV. This has been Late Night with your boys, Will and Greg. We're going to go get some sleep. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed whatever words that we just put together into these mics, and hopefully they made at least a little bit of sense. They helped you
get
through the game. They help you process this, and we're on to Phoenix. All right, guys, we'll catch you later. Peace.
Peace.
Every time I get this high, I lose my mind. It don't take much no more until I hit the floor. Every time I get this high, it's you I find. It don't take much no more until I'm at your door.
You cut me to my core, baby. What can I say? You got me on the floor, you know I came to play. I know I shouldn't, but you seem to take my pain away. And every time I score, Jayson Tatum fade away. I close my eyes and I'm floating your river. I call to see if you open, you know I hope you deliver. Every time you get